Hey guys, welcome back. It's Maverick here today with another episode of Shaman King. So first things first, I have a mission to make. I actually already watched this episode. I actually recorded this video yesterday, but long story short, my mic wasn't recording, so everything went to waste, and now I gotta rewatch it once again. And it is what it is, right? But still, I'm not about to just skip an episode because of my own stupidity, so here we are. Now I guess it doesn't really change things too much, considering that I already read through the entirety of Shaman King and whatnot, so it's not like I'm spoiling anything for myself, right? Although to be fair, there actually were a few parts where I was surprised because simply it was so long ago that I simply forgot about the events that happened. But in any case, maybe that's going to help my commentary a little bit further. Well, let's just jump into the episode right now. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Alright, let me make sure that I am recording right now. Right. Oh, Sakura Ho! Oh. By the way, I really like Hao's, former body, right? His former design, let's say. His current body looks a little bit too much like Yo, right? Whereas, his former self really looked like a badass and whatnot. Anyways, I am glad that, actually, sorry, not I am glad. Well, in the last episode, I was kind of, curious, I wasn't exactly sure whether in this episode we went directly into Hao's backstory, because my memories were kind of jumbled up. Obviously, I know of his backstory, and we're not going to get the entirety of his backstory yet. This is just a very quick abridged version here. But originally I was thinking, are we actually going to get it right now, or is it later on when Anna, meets up with Yo once again, and then we're going to get the story, right? Nukelo. Even though I have a lot of criticism for this current readaptation of Shaman King. As a fan, it really irks me when there's stuff, both in the voice acting, the pacing, the animation and whatnot. But still, also as a fan, I can't help but still feel excited every time I watch an episode of this. I mean, he's not exactly trying to, be, how's it called? Discreet about it. Hal don't give a damn. I actually wish Anna would put her hair down more often. Okay. So, pentagrams have significant difference in terms of the Eastern and Western cultures here, right? Pentagrams in the West, kind of associate with Satan and whatnot. In the East, though, we can see there, this concept of five elements, five basic elements, and how they basically, they grow or counter or how can I say it? Like how they each complement each other and or they counteract each other. Let's say. And basically that part, and also the other stuff, the other symbols and symbols and whatnot on the wall and whatnot. It's actually a sort of it's actually a sort of thing that has been it's part of Taoism, basically. So Taoism, there is two different kinds of Taoism. There's the religious kind of Taoism, and then there's also the philosophical kind of Taoism. So here, this is much more related to the sort of religious aspect of Taoism, right? And this is where you do get the ancient shamans in Chinese culture, and using these various seals and various divining abilities to basically expel evil spirits and so on and so forth. And this is an ancient Chinese kind of religious practice that was later on also transferred to Japan, because a lot of Japan is influenced by ancient Chinese culture. Ew. The legendary Anaslap. Although, honestly, the fact that they allowed Tamao to come here also speaks volumes as to her position in the family and her relation to Yo, right? Cho Shenjiryakitsu. Japanese has an entirely different pronunciation to how a Chinese would pronounce that, which would be Chao Zhanshi Lue. Oh. I do think that in the manga they looked a lot more menacing. Here they're just like, again, cartoon characters. They do look like this though. They're actually quite they're actually quite powerful. And of course, Anna is powerful as well. Hey. I feel like in the anime they didn't really fully show us like just how strong those two Shikigami were, because even though Anna made quick work of them, right? So it kind of looks like it was nothing. In reality, those two really could have nearly wiped out all those here. Yeah, and if it wasn't obvious by now, Anna is also super, super powerful. And hey, the ladies are making their trip to the USA. Told you guys, it's not the last we've seen of them. Oh, definitely not enough. And then this part. I had actually completely forgotten that we had this sort of interlude before we got to the next arc. I actually thought we were going directly into quite the important arc, especially in regards to Lizurg. Yeah, she is coward. Yo. Oh, getting jealous. Eh. I mean, I can't blame him. I can't blame him. I love snowboarding. I have done the same. I mean, he's really fortunate that he wasn't just killed right then and there. Yeah, those two, they're really cartoonified a lot, but they're actually quite strong. Quite strong. You know, on the one hand, I have to say that, you know, maybe that's taking things a little bit too lightly, but you know, in another kind of sense, I guess I can kind of understand because, you know, the shamans here, they have some sort of like sixth sense, right? So if Horo was actually really in danger, and that was a reason why he didn't join up, I'm sure Yo actually would have realized that. By the way, something that I was, you know, mentioning and sort of agonizing over in my original video was the fact that these two are able to communicate with each other, right? So back then, right, 20 years ago, I did not care about that at all, right? Okay, they're no, we're just continuing the story. But now, in my age, I'm just like, how exactly are these two holding a conversation, right? Does Horo know English? Does Bluebell know Japanese? Although technically, we can say that for most of the people around here, right? Right? Considering, like Rin, how is he able to communicate with everybody else, right? He's from China. Yeah, I guess I got caught up in that so much I even forgot to think about that. It's definitely quite funny now that you think of it. Because Shaman King has this emphasis on cultures from all around the world. I have to say, this outfit is ridiculous as well. True. That is like much larger than your average black bear or brown bear. You have to wonder where he got that Japanese sake as well. Another thing that I was thinking about while watching this episode is, how in a lot of ways it's actually quite apt for Horoho to be in this kind of situation, right? Especially with a park ranger as well. Because what he's saying here actually relates a lot to how I guess the ancient Native American religions viewed the land and the animals and whatnot, right? Although speaking of that, I can't. I actually can't. That's actually funny. I actually can't really profess to knowing much about like Native American practices, religions outside of what I know from textbooks and whatnot. I like how the bear is also so cartoonified as well. Just like he hasn't forgotten about me and our dreams. I will give them props. The how they made this entire situation with the sudden gunshot and whatnot was as abrupt as it was in the manga. And see what Haruhara is saying here is also like quite quite in line with what I know of a lot of like Aboriginal or Native American sort of concepts, right? Waste not, want not, right? It's not that compared to this isn't exactly like some kind of like animal lover kind of thing, or you can't eat meat or you shouldn't kill that kind of stuff, right? It's instead right a basic, how can I put this, a basic understanding that you should be thankful to the land that gives you fruitful stuff, and you shouldn't be wasteful of it. I wish they would have let us see like the actual reactions on the free hunters though. That's probably my biggest criticism of this scene, which again in the manga, the way I recall it, um, the amount of fear and trepidation on the poachers, on the hunters, was very clearly there. Whereas here, they're just like far away. You don't really see anything. I might be misremembering, but hmm. And then suddenly she knows what the Shaman King is. Yeah, I think what happened was that Horo explained everything to the Park Ranger, to Bluebell. Alright, see you guys after this. Alright guys, so there we go. My second time watching this episode, and, well, what can I say, right? I guess I can just go over what I was mentioning in the previous video as well, which is, honestly to me, I actually completely forgot about this horror side story. The moment I saw it, of course I was reminded of it, right? But, it wasn't exactly something that crossed my mind. And when I read manga, I kind of like just, quickly go through all the parts I do want to read and whatnot. And so this part, though I guess it's kind of unfair, I have to say I'm not all that fond of this kind of story, even though it is actually really important, because this is a sort of like a template for how what all the other characters are going to go through later on in the future, right? I think a commentator said, a viewer said earlier on how within Shaman King, it's not really so much about the shonen action and whatnot of having really cool, how can I put it, having very cool abilities and skills and whatnot to overpower the others, but rather it's the concept of you have to have an unwavering will, right? You have to have a very firm conviction and how that can overpower someone else, right? And so throughout the course of the entire story, we are treated to a lot of episodes like this one, a lot of stories like this one, where they are, right, our characters are constantly reminded of what it is that they're trying to do, also always questioning themselves, challenging themselves, and then coming out of it a little bit stronger, perhaps not ability-wise, but at least in terms of their mental and psyche, right? That's not to say that we're not going to get any actual, like, training stuff or skills and whatnot, because those will come later. But all I'm saying here is that more so than that, in fact, I can't really remember any sort of specific training arc, even though they do imply that the characters train and might come out of it much stronger, similar to what Yo did a few episodes past before his battle with Rin, right? More so than that, we're treated more to episodes like this one, where it's really more of a, am I right? Are you right? What do you believe in? What do I believe in? And ultimately, who is going to come out on top, right? It's more so that kind of thing. So, in terms of this, well, you could say it's important. You could even say that this is a sort of sneak peek of things to come as well, but ultimately, I just wasn't all that, I'm much more interested in, for instance, Hal's backstory, right? The entire part where, for both parts, because this episode essentially also pretty much slammed in, I'm guessing, 5 or 6 different chapters, right? The first half dealt with that book there, and how Anna is now going to go to the US to find Yo and give this to him, empower him up and whatnot. That part was great and all. We do learn just a little bit about Hal's backstory. This is not even scratching the surface yet. But I think what has been established within the episode here is that Anna is a badass, right? And make no mistake, even though, she's not actually part of the team, she's not going to participate in any of those actual team battles or whatnot, she is pretty damn strong, right? Which I guess you could also guess from the opening, where we see in the end it was Anna and Yo going up against Hal and whatnot. But yeah, she is pretty damn strong, and hopefully in this adaptation we will be seeing the full reasons as to why she's this strong, and her entire backstory with Yo, right? Which I do believe is going to be adapted, right? They already gave us a sneak peek of it very, very early on. I mentioned that in the episode as well, because they do show a scene from later on down the line, and by showing that scene, I think it's fair to assume that they are going to animate that particular arc, which is super, super important here. And we're not actually going to get to that part until until another 10-15 episodes in, I guess. But anyways, so we got that part. The important thing to know is that, we do have this special book thingy that's going to power Yo up, and of course Anna and Tomoe is going to go to the US to go and find Yo, so we get to see them once again, right? So, okay, putting that aside for now, and then this entire horror part, one thing that I did notice right now that I've grown up versus when I was a child, is that, how it's quite fitting, right? That it's Horohoro that's the one doing this. And indeed, what I really love actually about this particular this particular way that the story was set is that, they don't really go through that entire, I was mentioning in the episode as well, right? They don't go through this entire animal loving, animal rights kind of thing, you shouldn't kill animals and so on and so forth. That's not the angle that Horohoro goes for. And to me, that makes me respect this particular it makes me respect this work, and also respect Horohoro a lot more, right? It's not just trying to go, okay, we should all be vegans and whatnot, which is obviously, there is also this context of the world. How can I put this? There is still this context of when this was actually written, right? And now in 2021, it's hip or something to be vegan and whatnot. Whereas back then, it wasn't quite as prominent, but still, it's so refreshing to actually see a scene like this. And you see, I think it's very important, right? Horohoro was not there berating them for killing that big bear there, right? And I quickly checked in the manga as well. Indeed, he was okay with it. I guess not technically okay with it. He was sad about all of it, but he wasn't about to go just punish those hunters because that's what they did, right? He would have been actually fine if they actually showed proper respect and say, okay, this is our hunt. We're going to actually fully utilize it, right? We're gonna use it for, I don't know, use his skin as a rug, eat his meat, and so on and so forth. Horohoro would have been maybe not exactly happy, but on a principled note, been fine with it. It's after he learned that, hey, they were only doing this as a hobby and not really wanting to use the carcass of the bear for anything, that's when he got pissed off and did what he did there, right? And I think that's just so I mean, I love it. They just show like different kinds of how can I put this, right? It's just much more. It's just much more. How can I? I'm struggling to find the correct adjective to describe this, actually. It's just a much more down-to-earth kind of approach of looking at this kind of thing, right? And once again, it really reminds me a lot of the sort of like Native American kind of ideals and concepts here, right? You know, you must give thanks to the land for providing to us, and indeed, I guess not only to Native Americans as well, but actually to a lot of the sort of responsible hunters and whatnot. This is also what they think, right? Even though, you know, hunting can be considered some sort of sport, but you know, they don't waste it, right? If they do hunt something, they take care to you know, not destroy the other parts of the ecosystem, right? They go in there, they hunt what they need, and they make sure to retrieve the body and fully utilize the body, right? They're not just gonna leave it there to rot and whatnot. So it's something that I really love about how they stylize this entire thing. You know, back when I was a child, I didn't really pay much attention to this. I was just like, okay, yeah, that's what happened, right? That it is what it is. But now, as an adult, I actually give a lot more respect for how they actually treated this particular arc, and not just go through the simple, you know, how could you do this? You know, I was on the verge of making friends with the bear, and now, you know, you go ahead and kill them, right? It's not just that kind of simple, you know, surface level kind of emotions, but rather than emotions first, Horo is going through this through principles first, right? Which I think is really, really important here. Hopefully I kind of made that clear. I think it's really hard to explain this sort of concept to me, but basically my respect for the work and Horo as well really increased now that I'm seeing this once again in 20 years and knowing that, oh, this is how things went down, and you know, the implications of having the story develop this way rather than emotionally, right? So I love that really much, but even still, though, again, I would be a lot more, I would still be a lot more interested in once we finally get through this part, get to the Patch Village, and, you know, really start things off, right? But that is still quite a ways to come. So, anyways, that's it for this episode. Again, sorry guys for having to go through this once again. So, even though it was never a blind reaction per se to speak of, this makes it even more not blind, if you will. But it is what it is, and well, we should just continue on, right? So, hopefully next week I'm not gonna have the same kind of problem. I'll see you guys once again, and bye bye.